The county courthouse building here behind me in downtown Darlington has been a centerpiece of the city for more than 50 years. But now officials tell me that with too little space to work with and too many security concerns, it's time for a replacement. But they say even more important than what it will cost and when it will get done is how much they'll need from taxpayers. Heavy smoke still covering the roads here in the Quimby area of Florence. Florence fire officials tell me that the fire started just before 2 o'clock and quickly spread, endangering nearby homes. That's right, Bob. I'm here at the West Florence Fire Department. Things going smoothly so far here on Election Day. Now, workers tell me over 400 people have showed up to cast a ballot so far today. That number obviously growing as the after-work crowd shows up to cast a vote. Bob, that's right. Today's severe weather, though it came and went through without much widespread damage across the area. The family who lives in the house behind me here on Bethea Street was not so lucky. That's right, I'm in East 5th Street here in Lumberton, where investigators tell us they're working not one but two separate crime scenes where bodies were reportedly found. The two crime scenes just 400 feet apart. The first here behind me, the second just across the street here. That's right, Bob. I'm in the parking lot of the Dollar General here on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. Now, officers on the scene earlier tell me this is where that officer-involved shooting took place just a few hours ago. I spoke with Chief Michael McNeil of Lumberton Police Department earlier today. He told me that an officer did have to fire his weapon, but referred all other questions to the State Bureau of Investigation. Familiar sight here around downtown Darlington. Crews digging up roads, fixing old and decaying sewer pipes, and with water and sewer rates set to go up here in October for customers, what those who live on these streets want to know is, does the city have an actual plan to upgrade Darlington's aging infrastructure? Everywhere I've gone here in Marlborough County for the last few days, what I'm asked most about is little Ayanna Lowry. And now, after nearly a week of no answers about the little girl or who killed her mother, this community is doing all it can to help. It all started about 2:30 Monday afternoon. That's when Sheriff Kenny Boone tells me witnesses saw a black pickup truck driving all over the road before it crashed into a ditch in the field just a few yards behind me. Several here in Hartsville awoke to find this piece of paper and this small water bottle on their mailboxes. But the city of Hartsville wants those who live here to know they're not the ones behind it. It's something all of us do from time to time, reach into the fridge and grab a cold one to enjoy with friends or while watching the game. That wasn't always easy, though, in Darlington when you couldn't buy alcohol anywhere on Sundays. Tuesday, Darlington City Council members decided it was time to let the people decide. It's been a difficult week for members of the Pembroke Police Department as they deal with the loss of one of their own. Wednesday night, several were here getting ready to remember their fallen brother. Because Florence, too, is such a rural district, many of these students find themselves on the bus for as many as 2 hours on the way to or from school, and now they have both the time and the resources to get their homework done on the way. Of all people, the folks here in Nichols weren't going to let a little rain keep them from a town hall meeting here tonight, where a needs assessment survey was conducted to help them get a little closer to recovery. The line to get into Thursday night's town hall meeting at several points wrapped around the Dr. Bruce and Lee Library here behind me in downtown Florence. Once things got started, though, they did not settle down for several hours. All quiet in Florence tonight, save for the occasional siren as a curfew fell upon the county at 6 this evening. A little different story earlier today, though, as Hurricane Matthew made his presence in the PD well known.
I believe it's a little bit worse this year. It just came on so quick.
John Edwards has lived on Howe Springs Road for a long time and says the wind and rain from Hurricane Matthew are worse than the floods of 2015. In light of that, when Edwards heard Matthew was on his way to the PD, he was ready for what the storm might bring.
They actually stopped and waited, thinking they can get across. We just had to pull a truck out.
Edwards had his tractor ready and waiting for those who thought they could brave the washed-out roadway on Howe Springs.
2 cars came through, but he couldn't make it. So right now there's 1 car completely underwater and 2 other cars that are just totally stranded.
Several made the same mistake as these men did Saturday afternoon. Florence County Emergency Management reports more than 100 rescues, including helping stranded drivers like these. They count themselves lucky to get stuck on John Edwards' stretch of road and around other Good Samaritans.
That's what we do in the community. You build and you do for others. I mean, that's the only way a community can be together.
I thought the whole road was washed out, honestly.
Chris Gibson, who evacuated from Charleston to Florence, says he's happy people like John showed up to help.
I'm so glad he was here because originally he was going to bring a chain, and luckily they had a strap, I had a strap, but we still needed a chain after all, so it worked out.
Edwards says he blocked the road so others wouldn't get into trouble.
Hopefully the people will stay out of the barricades. If not, hope they can swim.
As for these guys and their pickup, they've added one more item to their next hurricane to-do list.
Get a taller truck.
In Florence, Matt Parris, News 13. Neighbors say they thought someone was burning brush or that they saw a small forest fire. What they were actually seeing was the wreckage of Dr. James Schuster's helicopter after it crashed here in the field behind me Friday afternoon. Darlington County Coroner Todd Hardy says Schuster died in this crash. He was the only person in the helicopter. The Federal Aviation Administration reports the 47G helicopter struck trees before it crashed behind a home on Oates Highway Friday afternoon. Neighbors say small planes and other aircraft often fly in this area.
I thought they were burning trash.
Jake Gleason and his family live just across a field from where Schuster's helicopter went down.
I saw the fire, so I figured it must have been a forest fire. So we ran down there, got closer, and I saw it was contained. I was like, well, that's weird. And then I see that it's a helicopter. So.
Gleason says when he saw what kind of helicopter it was,
The only person I thought about was Jim, because he's the only person I know around here that has a helicopter like that, and it was him. So.
he remembers Schuster as a family friend and a dedicated pilot.
He's a good guy. He lives over there in Townsville, wife and kids. He died enjoying what he was doing.
FAA investigators out of Columbia arrived at the crash site just before dark, taking pictures and checking out the damage to the helicopter. Lieutenant Robert Kilgo with the Darlington County Sheriff's Office says deputies will now play a supporting role until the scene is officially cleared.
With a plane crash or a helicopter crash, we are merely here to preserve evidence until the federal authorities take over.
Those federal authorities do now have control of the crash site, though there is a Darlington County Sheriff's deputy on watch here until daylight. That's when federal officials say they hope to move the wreckage off-site where the NTSB can complete its investigation into the cause of the crash. For now, in the Oates community of Darlington County, Matt Parris, News 13. It was this online post that alerted others to the issues inside the Bennettsville Animal Shelter. Tonight, volunteers with the Marlboro County Humane Society, a veterinarian, and even the mayor were on hand to start these animals on a road toward their forever home.
When some things hit social media and we talked, and they agreed to ask if we would come and help, and that's what we're here for.
It was no small task, but Tuesday evening, volunteers with the Humane Society showed up to the Bennettsville Animal Shelter to make sure the 17 dogs housed here would be prepared for rescue.
We've had people wanting these animals since all this started.
Jennifer Hyduke and her team say the shelter has been a problem in the past, and it's time for things to change.
We feel certain that we can move this group of dogs, but we made it very clear to the animal control officer, and I've spoken with the mayor numerous times, they can't bring any other animals in the shelter unless they're vaccinated and quarantined away from the ones we're vetting tonight.
Dr. Terry Eads of Marlboro Veterinary Service has examined all 17 dogs, gave rabies vaccinations, and checked for heartworms and other diseases. While that was going on, Marlboro County Animal Control assisted City Animal Control with bleaching and washing out all of the kennels on the inside of the shelter.
We're working with the county animal control guy, and we're going to use his protocols going forward, and there should be a standard arrangement on each animal going forward.
As long as they're willing to accept our help, we'd be glad to guide them.
The County Humane Society says they are all in when it comes to making sure this shelter doesn't fall into a similar situation again.
But the most important thing we accomplished tonight was the vaccines, getting the pictures, getting the information on each dog, because
we can move
without that information, rescue organizations aren't just going to show up and take these dogs.
The crew had to guess on the ages of most of the animals when filling out that paperwork, but as one volunteer said, today is these dogs' new birthday. There were 17 dogs inside. 15 will soon be available for rescue. Unfortunately, 2 of the dogs were sick. One is undergoing treatment with Dr. Eads. The other did have to be put down. The mayor tells me the city plans to renovate the shelter once all the dogs are gone. For now in Bennettsville, Matt Parris for News 13.